great Austrian violinist Fritz Kreisler once said, "If there's one thing more than another I enjoy playing in the whole violin repertoire, it's the Andante from the Brahms concerto with Leon Goossens playing the oboe."
He has in his way changed the course of music by his artistry, because there were no oboe players of his stature before. He is one of the great artists of history.
I think he's had an influence not only in this country, but in all countries of the world, really.
I think he's done more, possibly than anyone that I can think of, to raise the dignity of his instrument.
I think his style is absolutely unique. You can't boil it down, you can't explain it, you can't analyze it. It's just Goossens.
June the 25th, 1962, Leon Goossens was seriously injured in a car crash. His mouth smashed to pieces. It looked like the tragic end to a remarkable musical career.
Well, that simply was a head-on collision. Everything was thrown in at me. The steering wheel broke in my chest and broke ribs and cracked my sternum. And at the same time, the horn ring on the steering wheel broke and lashed across my mouth, you see, and right across here. It tore right through and tore all my teeth out with it. And I had something like 150 stitches put in there.
And this is really a professional disaster for an oboe player, because it's not just a question of blowing through a tube and controlling with your fingers. The whole sound is made with the mouth and by a very, very elaborate system of muscles all round the mouth here, and by the teeth exerting just the right pressure. There is a heresy among string players that they have to make their own notes, but wind players just put their fingers in the right place. This isn't true at all. Getting the fingers in the right place on the right note gives you a very close approximation, but in some cases more close than others. Therefore, you must work your mouth the whole time, not merely to make the beautiful sound, but also just to get it in tune. And if you just have no control at all, then you could never play a simple scale in tune.
I used to play just by putting the reed in the center, in the straightforward, just a slight grip, like that. But you see, that keeps the lip stretched, and only the part which is quite dead now, since it was damaged, the muscle is gone and the nerves have never joined up, you see. That means that I'm only touching the part that doesn't mean a thing to me at all. And there's no means of keeping it pressed up to the reed, because I have no pressure on it at all, you see, nothing to command it. So, a little illustration of that. This is just as I used to do it. I can't do that, you see, because you see? So now I have to bunch up the side muscles so they push in this way and get behind this one and force it up to the reed, you see? At the same time, hug it a little bit with the upper lip, just to continue and to complete that pressure all around the reed. And it makes quite a difference in the sound, I hope. This is it. And the old method again. You see, I could hardly start it even then, because I was using the old one, which I've completely got out of now.
His wife, more than anyone, knows what he went through after the accident.
Well, I think for a long time it numbed his senses tremendously, and this was, I think, was the hardest part of it all for us all, because for about a year he had this feeling of being useless. And then gradually, with his spirit, he built it up. and tried slowly by degrees and by doing small things to build it up into something that he felt he was contributing once more, and doing little recitals which didn't overstrain him. And gradually he's learned to live with it, I think that's the thing, and in a most courageous manner, because you could very well sit back after an accident like that and think, well, now I'm finished, and that's that.
There are certain works which I haven't dared try yet. One is the Strauss Concerto. Another one is the Oboe d'Amore Concerto by Bach. And the other is the double concerto that I had such joy playing with Yehudi Menuhin just before my crash.
Listen to it.
Yes. That was the last piece of work I did before I was smashed up. In fact, the Monday in which I woke in hospital, I was due at the gramophone studio to do a little retake of one of the recordings that we'd already made. Yehudi found there was a place that might have come off a little better. I think it was to do with ensemble. Then he heard through me from the hospital that I was unable to do it. He wrote me a very charming letter saying to the effect that, don't worry a bit. He said, it's perfectly all right as it is. I don't think it could be very much better. There are always people who will say, when we do it, possibly in 5 years' time, he will say it's extraordinary. However good people are, they can always improve a little more.
Could also be handled.
Now in the autumn of his distinguished career, Goossens finds perhaps his greatest pleasure from looking back and reminiscing on an active and colourful life. He relives his own childhood through his grandson Dominic, whom he hopes will carry on the Goossens family tradition, which in 3 generations has produced no less than 9 artists, all of the first rank. The most celebrated perhaps is Leon himself, who at 69 has re-established himself as the outstanding solo oboist of today.
Dominic and I are very fond of the water. He has a little model yacht. We get a lot of fun out of that. I was left a rather nice walking stick by my father. I was using it to push the boat off, you see. And so Dominic said, "Oh, Grandpa, let me push the boat off." And he did. And he turned round with a very artful look in his eye. And I wondered what was cooking then, you see. And he said, "I wonder what would happen if I pushed the stick out." I said, "Don't you dare." I said, "That's a very valuable stick, and I would be annoyed." With that, he just pushed the boat off and then pushed the stick out to follow it and looked up at me, wondered what the effect would be. Of course, I was furious. He finished off in floods of tears. However, eventually, after about an hour and a quarter, the stick found its way to the other side of the round pond. But I thought we were never going to get home that afternoon. I was boiling, and I didn't know how to ease off, you know, and forgive him without sort of making it too obvious.